right, y'all. So I've been debating on moving very, very soon. Not sure where, but I definitely wanted a change of scenery. Right now, I'm in the Hampton Roads area, so I'm like, man, I thought to myself, what city could I move to? Like, where would I go, or is it even a good idea for me to go? So I went on YouTube, just to kind of see, what other people were saying about some of the cities around the country. And I came across this video from World According to Briggs. Make sure you drop him a follow. But he had this video called, well, we're getting ready to look at the real most dangerous U.S. cities, facts versus opinions. And I'm like, you know what? That would be a very, very good video for me to react to. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. And you guys tell me, drop some comments, where's a good place for somebody that's young and, trying to start over, or should I just stay where I'm at within the Hampton Roads, Newport News, Hampton, Norfolk, whatever you guys think. But let's go ahead and get into it. All right.
Let's take a look.
Oh, sorry.
Number 10, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Albuquerque, New Mexico is a pretty interesting city. Nobody ever really thinks about it until they do a video like this, and nobody ever thinks it's dangerous till they look at the numbers. Then you're like, holy crap, what's going on in the middle of the desert? Maybe the lack of water makes people attack each other. One guy that got attacked was named Cade. He was trying to get paid, and he got slayed in the parking lot of a check cashing place. Yeah, that's no lie. And his friend was on the news, and that's exactly how he put it. My friend Cade got slayed while he was trying to get paid. That's what he said to the news person. I think it's in poor taste to try and further your rap career after your friend got slayed. Maybe he's not a rapper. Maybe he was just trying to impersonate Nipsey Russell. Who knows? But Cade got slayed while he's trying to get paid. Albuquerque, New Mexico has a population of about 564,000 residents, with the entire metro area having just under 1 million at 916,000. I guess that's not just under, but it's under 1 million. Their violent crime rate is 1,369 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents. If you're wondering, Cade was 842. What city do most people think goes in the number 10 spot? New Orleans. They have a violent crime rate of 1,121 for every 100,000 residents. Number 9, Stockton, California. If you're not from Central California or Northern California, you probably don't know much about Stockton, California, unless you're like a fan of the Diaz brothers.
Also, while he's going through these, make sure y'all drop a comment and make sure this is actually like factual. Like if you're from these areas, like let me know. Like is it really bad or is he just blowing smoke? Because quite honestly, like I am looking at moving to different states, or a different, city somewhere further away from where I'm currently at now. So, you guys let me know if it's a good move or hey, stay away.
Brothers from the UFC. They're from Stockton, and they make it very known that they're from Stockton. And to give you kind of an idea what goes on, their most notable residents, the Diaz brothers, are known for extreme violence. But, like my mom always said, if you're really good at something, stick with it. Stockton has a population of about 320,000, with the entire metro area having about 776,000. The violent crime rate in Stockton is 1,415 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents. That's a lot. The city people most often think goes in the number 9 spot, Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City almost made this list with 1,311 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents. Number 8, Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio is a very interesting city. I mean, I love the Cleveland Browns, but I'd never want to live in Cleveland. Currently, Cleveland, Ohio has 373,000 residents, and I'm sure less than a third of the people are there willingly. The entire metro area has a little over 2 million residents. The stand-up comedian Dave Attell did a comedy show in Cleveland years back. I was there. I don't know what got his dander up, but he said to the audience, this is a Cleveland audience, keep that in mind. I was probably one of 3 people that weren't a Cleveland resident, I bet. But he said, this city is filled with some of the dumbest people I've ever seen in my life. And the crowd erupted in laughter and cheering. And he just looked at him and goes, you're proving my point right now.
I don't know why I thought he was getting ready to say like they erupted in like outrage and super upset and they hopped on stage. Like I was thinking like the absolute worst. He pretty much called them stupid.
and they cheered louder. Cleveland is a dangerous city. Their violent crime rate is 1,557 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents. There is good news. Here's a little garden plot someone put in at Frontier and West 61st Street. That's nice. What city do people think belongs in this position? That would be Oakland, California. They're kind of off. I mean, 1,557 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents. Oakland only has 1,299.
Recordings just got better. Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard. I'm so excited to announce that.
Number 7, Rockford, Illinois. People really don't know about Rockford, Illinois, unless you're from that area of the country.
Know about it either.
I mean, if you ask anyone about Rockford, Illinois, they're all, is that like that 1970s cop show, Rockford or something? Was that what that was about? I mean, why would you? But if you're looking for Rockford, Illinois on a map, it is northwest of downtown Chicago. It's kind of like between Milwaukee and Chicago to the west. Rockford, Illinois has a population of about 148,000 residents. These are all at the 2020 census, by the way. Nothing's official till the next census, but you'll always see things like in 2022, it was 152,000. Now, we're going to go by what's official, and that's 2020. Their metro area in 2020 had 338,000. That isn't a lot of people for a city on this list. They got a bunch of losers working overtime, violently assaulting people. The violent crime rate in Rockford, Illinois is 1,588 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents. The city they most often think is number 7.
I'm not gonna lie, like when I look at some of these photos of like the city, like it doesn't look like a city that would have that high of a crime rate. But then it's like when you go into the statistics, you know, it's like, wow, that was very, very deceiving, you know. So it's just like, I think it just goes to show that, you know, with a lot of these places, you really got to do your research. It can look good on the outside, but in the inside, you know, not so good.
Baltimore, Maryland. I'm sure if you're in Baltimore and you've been to like your 7th funeral this month, you'll probably sit there going, yeah, Baltimore should be number 1. And yes, you'll see Baltimore later on this list. Number 6, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You know, Wisconsin is one of the best states you could move to. And like I've said in many videos before, the only place they have a lot of crime is Milwaukee. And every time I say that, I get a bunch of yahoos trying to convince me that actually they tell me I'm an idiot or something like that because Milwaukee's not that bad. Well, you know, you might not think so, but the stats paint a different picture. Then I get a bunch of other people telling me, oh no, yeah, it's really bad here in Milwaukee. Don't come here. That's a weird thing. I get a lot of people going, you should really talk to one of the current residents every time you make one of these videos. I always get that. And the thing is this, I could talk to 100 people from any state, any city, any town. Half the people will say it's safe.
Like I said, if you're from these cities that he's mentioning, let me know. Because he's going off statistics, but if you're actually living there and you are seeing something differently or it's improving, you know, let that be known. These are conversations that need to be had.
If half will say it's really dangerous, that's why you got to go by the stats. Sort of like this whole video. Opinions are often different from the reality. Milwaukee has a population of 577,000 residents, with the entire metro area having about 1.5 million. And they are a fairly violent city. Their violent crime rate is 1,597 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents. People most often think Memphis goes here. Memphis is another city you're going to see later on in this video. Their violent crime rate is 2,003 for every 100,000 residents. Number 5, Little Rock, Arkansas. Yeah, Little Rock's a nightmare. Always has been. You know how there's these movements where a part of the state wants to move to another state, like here in Oregon, we have the eastern half. They want to move to Idaho. They want to change the border. Well, some people in Arkansas would like to change the border and give everything from Texarkana to Little Rock to Mississippi. I'm sure a lot of them would like to go all the way up to Jonesboro and give some of that to Tennessee, just to put a buffer between Arkansas and Memphis. Little Rock has a population of about 204,000 residents, with the entire metro area having less than 750,000. Oddly enough, Little Rock is still growing. They have never had a down census. Sure, they didn't grow by much over the last 40 years or so, single digits since the 1990 census, but they're still growing. I think it's mostly ex-combat veterans that miss the sound of gunfire when they sleep. Little Rock has a violent crime rate of 1,634 for every 100,000 residents, and most people believe St. Louis, Missouri belongs here.
You know what's so crazy? I bet you like these statistics posted at this time and when he made this video, I can guarantee you that stuff has went up, especially with inflation, you know, continuing to be an issue, crime, you know, just a lot of stuff that's in motion now around the world and currently in our country. I can almost guarantee you, like, it's definitely increased even more. So I'm wondering, like, what the statistics look like now.
Here, St. Louis has over 2008 to be exact, for every 100,000 residents.
Restrooms are a mile away.
Bruh, bad.
Really? Is your plan for movie night? Yeah, I got rid of our cable.
Number 4, Memphis, Tennessee. On the U.S. map, Memphis and Little Rock aren't too far away. About a 2-hour trip down the I-40. You know, it's weird. I should do a video on what people call the interstates and the highways by their homes. I mean, I've come from Southern California. I guess it's all of California. We don't call it I-40 or we don't call it Interstate 40. We have the 5 freeway. We have the 110 freeway. There's no I, there's none of that, or state route. We just call it by its number. And I know other parts of the country have similar things. But anyway, this is Interstate 40 or whatever they call it there. There should be a law having 2 cities that are this dangerous so close to each other. Memphis is a very, very dangerous place. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of comments from people that think it's much more dangerous. And on reputation alone, I would think that too. Memphis has a population of about 633,000, with the entire metro area having 1.3 million. Their violent crime rate is 2,003 for every 100,000 residents. What they often think goes here? Los Angeles. Everyone thinks Los Angeles is the 4th most dangerous city in the United States. They're very wrong. Los Angeles is barely in the top 50 most dangerous cities. I kid you not. Their violent crime rate is 809 for every 100,000 residents.
I don't know why I thought it was higher.
1, they have a ton of very nice and safe neighborhoods. 2, a lot of the older bad neighborhoods, they've kind of had enough to the point where the residents don't really take it anymore. One other theory on this one, now this could be said for every city, but Los Angeles, it's a little bit more because of the high amount of Hispanics living in Los Angeles. They usually don't report crimes. They have a tendency to take care of it themselves. That's because in Los Angeles, they really don't trust the police. That could be said for everywhere, but it's a little bit more here. There was a study we did for another video a couple years back, and I think it was done by Pew Research or something, but they went to different communities, racial communities, I should say, in different parts of the country. And they tried to get an estimate of the actual crime rate and how many crimes are reported. And it was like, for the most part, in the Asian communities, only about 17% go unreported. This is violent crimes, by the way. In the Black community, it was like 4% go unreported. The white community, it's like 2% go unreported.
Really?
In the Hispanic community, it was like 37% go unreported.
You know, that makes a lot of sense too. Like, I bet you for the cities that had like high crime rates, it would probably be even higher if people of different walks of life or different races reported more of what was going on in the neighborhoods or in their communities. Like, that just goes to show, like, man, like, these numbers would be crazy if everybody actually reported everything that was happening.
Reported. Number 3, Baltimore, Maryland. Yes, Baltimore, everyone knew was going to show up on this list. I gave you the numbers for it earlier, so you should have known it was coming. I'm sure a lot of you would already typed in Baltimore down in the comments section. Baltimore has had a reputation for being a violent city for a very long time. The cop show homicide didn't help things out. Baltimore has a population of 585,000 residents, with the entire metro area being about 2.8 million. Their violent crime rate is, again, 2,027 for every 100,000 residents. The city that people think belongs at number 3 most often, Detroit. They were close, but they're not at number 3. Number 2, Detroit. Yes, it's just the next one down the list. Number 2 is Detroit, Michigan. And yeah, this should be, again, no surprise. If you've watched this channel long enough, you know Detroit usually shows up when things are bad or when people are leaving. Any video we've done where there's a decline in population, Detroit is usually the number 1 spot. The city, not the metro area, peaked at the 1950 census with 1.8 million residents. That decade, they grew by 13.9%. That was the last time they have grown their population. That is 7 straight census where they lost population. Of those, 4 of them were in double digits. That was 1980, they lost 20.5%. 1990, they lost 14.6%. And in 2010, they lost 25% of their population. And the estimate that in 2022, they lost another 2.9%. The violent crime rate in Detroit is 2,057 for every 100,000 residents. The one that people think goes at number 2 is so off, it's incredible. They think San Francisco goes here. If you're watching enough of the wrong news channels, you know they kind of lean hard into San Francisco as this horrible place. So people have been programmed to think that it just sucks. It does, but violent crime is not their big.
It's like it's throwing me off because like there are certain cities that he mentioned and I'm like, man, that city like has to be number 1 or it has to be top 3. And I'm like, really? If not? I'm like, wow. Okay.
Biggest problem. And if you compare it to a lot of the cities on this list, it isn't much of a problem. San Francisco sees 1,009 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents. That would have put them at number like 15 or 16, something like that. All right, before we get to number 1, if you want to help out this channel, one of the biggest things YouTube is looking at right now is, do you watch a second video? So there'll be some videos suggested at the end of this one. Please click on one if you have time. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis is a pretty dangerous place. They do have some areas that are showing promise and they're revitalizing a lot of the neighborhoods, which is good. They just have a bunch of neighborhoods that are so bad.
St. Louis? Really? I would have never. Okay.
And it doesn't help right across the border. In Illinois, you have East St. Louis, which is one of the worst overall cities in the United States. And I'm sure a lot of the crime is coming across the bridge. St. Louis is a city that played a big part in American history. I mean, just about anyone going west went through St. Louis. This was a major hub of transportation back in the day. St. Louis has a population of about 301,000, with their entire metro area having about 2.8 million. Like Detroit, they've been losing population since the 1950 census, where they peaked with 856,000. In the last 7 census, they've lost double digits every year but the last 2, 2010 and 2020, where they only lost 8.3 and 5.5%. The violent crime rate in St. Louis, Missouri is 2,082 for every 100,000 residents. One people think belong here? Chicago. Now, I did this whole thing with Bri the Math Guy where he made a video explaining why Chicago's is so low. Chicago has the most murders every single year. They also have like 4 times as many people as the next one on the list, so their rate is a lot lower. That's just the way numbers and stats work. It might not jive with what is in your head and what you've been told.
Yeah, that's pretty much the end of the video, but I mean, you guys tell me, like, was he on point? Was he off? Do y'all disagree with anything? I mean, you guys let me know in the comments. And hey, like I said, I'm looking at moving probably within the next 6 months, maybe a year from now. You know, where do you guys recommend, you know, a young man? You know, I'm in tech, you know, where do you guys think I should move at, to what state, what city? But hey, it's only up from here, and I just want to thank everybody for watching my videos, and you know, let's keep it going. All right.